How Bizarre is intended for mature, open-minded audiences only. If you are easily offended, we suggest you turn this wacky shit straight off. Shart me. Oh, you can shart me.
That's good.
Anytime I shart me.
Shart me.
I'm just now sitting down. I'm looking forward to hopefully maybe a bit more lighthearted of a show than it's been.
Yeah.
I'm getting deep as much as the next boy, but it's been heavy lately.
Yeah, it's been it's like we can't not talk about what's going on. You know?
Yeah, it's not an option.
Yeah.
It was freaking loud. I turned on my Skype and it didn't work. I was like, well, what the fuck? Wouldn't load. It was the update, Windows update.
Oh,
So it's 20 minutes fucking with my computer. Turn it off and on until
Thanks, Inslee. Am I right?
yeah, fuck yeah. The Mac updates are more intrusive than I remember in recent years, but they're so much faster. And they're smart
They
about
download
doing it
in
when
the
you don't give a shit.
Yeah, they like download it when you're not doing anything, and it's like, we've got it. Here it is.
I can't tell you how many times I had a room full of people at Radar Station. We're about to watch, Friday the 13th, part 3. And I'm using my laptop to play these things. I get everything all set up, go get some dinner, show up. Everyone's there. I do my little intro. I head over to take it off the screensaver. And the blue screen, update 3 of 9 happening. And I'd be like, all right. Well, next round's on me. It's fucking embarrassing.
I never
did get a great movie setup.
To get like a good tabletop setup now is like $30,000. It's insane. It's
define good. It's got a vagina.
Like what are they? 2080s. They're $1,000 a piece. They're video cards for rendering, processing video and stuff.
Yeah,
like
man.
That.
I was really. Go ahead.
Well, I mean, it's where you want to be. You want 64 megs and RAM. You all work with After Effects.
Well, holy shit! I actually got the casino before the world ended, and I fought for it. We needed new Macs. We were fucking on 10-year-old Macs, and I said, guys, they're gonna crash. We're gonna have problems, and they were like, "Well, price them out." I'm not kidding when I said they spent almost $8,000 a Mac for us.
Wow.
Yeah.
And we got the iMac Pros, and they're fucking amazing. Like, they just churn through everything. No towers, all built in. Even has a fucking sound system. I was shocked.
Yeah, that's what I don't have a MacBook or a iMac Pro, but I've got an iMac, and I don't know, it was like the $2,000 number, and it's a screaming machine. I had Photoshop with like tons of layers going, After Effects and Premiere, all rocking while I had a YouTube tutorial teach me some of the new tricks and the brand new software, all rocking completely flawless, and it's doing me right. We will be doing, finally, some of my favorite stuff that we do on the old program is get caught up on some listener email. And there wasn't a ton, but there's always some gems in here. So looking forward to getting to those. Before we do that, I wanted to bring up, and you guys can bring any news stories or anything you want to talk about as we do. But I know I talked to you guys about this over text, this podcast called Wind of Change. And it's something that came up during Name That Meow. I don't think I was doing Wind of Change. I did or maybe someone just guessed a Scorpion song and someone said Wind of Change. And then they started talking about this podcast. In the thread, I was busy meowing like a madman for the game. So I got caught up on that later and was like, that sounds intriguing. I finally checked it out and I highly recommend it. I'm not done with it yet, so I don't have a fully formed opinion, but I can say that 3 episodes into it, they do an amazing job at painting a picture. So the premise of this podcast is there is this theory that I never heard, maybe you guys had, that the Scorpions didn't actually write their monster power ballad, Wind of Change, but the CIA wrote it and had the Scorpions release it.
I've actually heard this theory before somewhere.
I'd never heard it before the podcast. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. Now, I didn't think that it sounded all that crazy of a scheme, because I knew that, a lot of governments had hired pop culture icons whether it's film directors, certainly the USSR. I mean, most famously, all of their entertainment during the height of the Cold War was propaganda. Those films, all those great films like Battleship Potemkin, I think it is, and Ivan the Terrible. I'm spacing on the Eisenstein. I think the director's name is Eisenstein. Amazing fucking films and important films just from a standpoint of pieces of art, but 100% pro-USSR propaganda. And the U.S. has done it too. But they did a really good job of setting that up and pointing out things where propaganda or just, the government reached out and said, why don't we say, what would you think about being part of this thing to get some stuff cooking? Speaking of that, I'm working on a really interesting article about Woody Guthrie being hired by the Bonneville Power Administration, essentially the government in the 40s, to write a bunch of songs about the Grand Coulee Dam to help sell people on damming the river, this massive project, which is a very controversial project. But so was Woody Guthrie. He was a controversial man. He was a far left-wing communist at one point or another. At least he dabbled in communism. Writing songs with lyrics like, I know the police cause you trouble, they cause trouble everywhere, but when you die and go to heaven, you'll find no policeman there. I mean, this was kind of like the Rage Against the Machine of his day. It was very anti-government, very for the working man, that sort of Grapes of Wrath time, the Great Depression and the Dust Bowl. And so it's kind of another example of that, where the government hired this unlikely guy to write these songs to help sell them on this massive power project. Here, go ahead, Lon.
Could you imagine if Jim Morrison got a hold of that and was like, come on, baby, get your hydro power.
Come on now, damn me, babe. Can't you see? Yeah, that's pretty good. But anyway, this podcast is fucking fascinating. Now, as I talk about all the time on the podcast, I think I talk about it all the time, I am obsessed with all things Cold War era. The design, the decor, the space program, the space race, spies, number stations, all of that good shit happened during the Cold War. And so it's got all of that. It's got spies. He's like talking to people who were actually spies back then. And they couldn't say everything that they did, but it's really, really insightful and really well done. Some of these podcasts, man, they're just next fucking level. Like the research and the production is like as good or far superior to the shit that, we're used to seeing like on Dateline or, it's just so fucking gripping. Of course it's better because they can do whatever they want.
They're kind of bottom tier from us then. Just a little bit lower than
a couple rungs under us. I mean, we've been around longer. We got that going for.
I've been listening to this podcast lately called "You Were Wrong About," and they
that sounds like a John Mark podcast.
Yeah, they go into all these topics, like everything from like was it Anne Boleyn? Who was the one that was supposedly said let them eat cake?
Well, I don't know a lot about Anne Boleyn except she got her head cut off, right?
Right. I mean, anyways, it was like one of those. It was whoever it was that was supposed to have said like let them eat cake, which she never actually said, by the way. But they go from topics like that to like the O.J. Simpson Bronco chase to just all kinds of stuff that like have kind of permeated into the stuff into the popular culture, and they go and they delve into what the actual story was and why we all have the wrong perception about what actually happened.
I'm jealous of that premise. It's a good premise.
It's pretty fucking fascinating, actually. Yeah,
that's cool.
I'll have to look into that. But anyway, look into Wind of Change. I think there's about 10 episodes, maybe not quite that. A little over halfway. They haven't talked to the Scorpions, not really yet. So I'm dying to hear how they respond.
Are you telling me there's 10 episodes of content for this? I mean, like, is there that much to talk about?
It's close. I'm telling you, this whole thing, it wouldn't be an interesting tale if they just, I mean, it could have been like a really good episode of our show. You know, I could have like encapsulated it in 40 minutes, but they're taking you through all of these things and setting up the mystery of it and the groundwork, like I said, that leads you to believe that, well, whether it happened or not, it's certainly possible and maybe even likely that it happened, or at least something like this had happened around that same era with some other bands, some other acts in other countries.
Well, you know, the beautiful thing about music is that, like, even if you pump in a very touching, like a Celine Dion song, you know, it's going to hit you emotionally. Winds of Change, man, that song was awesome. But I have a hard time believing the CIA wrote it. I would think that they maybe would have helped with the tour and making it explode as much as that song did, because that song was testimonial to the fall of the Berlin Wall. You know what I mean?
Well, but you're kind of proving the point, though, in that the CIA wanted nothing more than the end of, the Soviet Union at that point, and bringing down that wall was a huge deal, and that song was kind of the soundtrack to it. Now, to your point, though, the Scorpions at that point had a huge the Scorpions are a crazy band, because by the time anyone really knew about them with like Rock Me Like a Hurricane, Rock You Like a Hurricane was in the 80s, but by that time they'd already put out a greatest hits album full of songs that no one knows. Like, that band was been around since the 60s. Like, I didn't know that.
They did the Worldwide Live tour. That was in the 80s. They were a huge juggernaut, dude, of metal back in the day. Between them and like AC/DC and I'd like Van Halen, those were all fucking god rock, you know.
One of my first big concerts was the Monsters of Rock, and I remember the Rhythm of Love. I like the Scorpions. I'm one of those like fair weather fans, I suppose. The greatest hits does it for me.
I'm still mad that I didn't get to go to that fucking show. I had tickets to that show. My mom sent me to fucking California.
Oh, bummer.
Interesting. Well, you saw Made in England, and I had tickets to that show. Didn't make it, so. But was I at that one? It was Somewhere in Time tour was the one I.
Yeah, Somewhere in Time. Yep. Fuck yeah, that was my first concert.
Yeah. Go ahead, Lon.
I missed the Seventh Son of a Seventh Son because a friend of mine had tickets, but I couldn't go.
Oh, that was Made in England. That was, and when John Mark and I went to see Maiden, a few years ago, a decade at this point ago, we went to two shows. One of them was like all mostly the newer stuff, which was great, and they played a handful of the classics. But this is what they would do. They would come out and release some new shit and tour the new shit, and then the next couple of years, they'd tour all the classics. So the one after that, or the one before that, was Made in England. Like it was that revised, along with some of the new shit. It was awesome. I just looked up that footage actually,
so good,
of Moonchild. What a perfect first song. And that's just that G G B B B B B B. It just feels like it takes forever to start, but it's like do 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 do, and they come running out. Holy shit, that was a good show.
That's the one thing. That's the one thing I love about Maiden shows, like throughout history, is that they have that build up and they have that introduction happening, and then suddenly there's like explosions and fucking fireworks, and they just like run onto the stage, and suddenly they're just there kicking your ass. It's so
by the time they hit the stage, you are literally and clinically insane.
Do you guys think you'd be such fans of the band if you've never seen them live?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
They're super fucking catchy songs. They're just for a heavy metal, like progressive heavy metal band, their shit is super fucking catchy. I was a huge fan. The first time I heard, it's probably Run to the Hills. We were still living in Entiat the first time I saw that. It's a hilarious video of like old cowboy and Indians.
It's like Keystone
comedies. Yeah, like probably super offensive. I haven't seen it now, but there was shit from like the 20s or 30s. Yeah, so fucking good. But yeah, absolutely. But it's one of those bands that it takes you to the next level. Same with Tool. I was a huge fan of Tool. And the first time I saw them was at Lollapalooza. And they weren't the Tool that they became, but they were a rad live band. But then they became this sort of like Pink Floydian. I don't even. Tool's almost its own separate category of music. Love it or hate it, and I do love it. But anywho,
I've always preferred the early Tool.
Yeah, I think most people do. I feel like Lateralis was the last great Tool album, but 10,000 Days that came after let's see, was it 10,000 Days? I think that was the next one.
That's not too bad of an album.
It's got some great shit on it, but yeah, I mean, where do you go after Lateralis? I still think Lateralis is like, is it? I've read so many conflicting. I always call it Enema, but I've heard Einema and Anima. I feel like it's Anima.
I say Anima because that character, the AE is called Ash, and you pronounce it as a sort of like the ah, but I don't know like what language they would. You know, I mean, they could have their own interpretation of it. So
yeah, and they fuck with their fans all the time and put little mysteries and puzzles and stuff and misdirections. So I wouldn't even trust them saying how it's pronounced. But I suppose that is the classic. Sort of in between. Undertow is such a brilliant album, but they did progress to get to Anima, and it's like, holy shit, how is this band so fucking good? And then you hear years later Lateralis, and I'm like, Jesus Christ. Songs like The Patient and the song Lateralis, where it's like, I think that's the one that uses the Fibonacci sequence. Fucking unbelievable band. But, you know, good shit. Anywho, so yeah, check out Wind of Change. I don't know how it ends, and I don't know if I believe that the CIA
What's it
did
on?
it. It's everywhere. It's everywhere now. It was one of those where they released the whole thing on Spotify, but they were putting week after week shows up on all the other ones, which you're seeing a lot. You're starting to see podcasts getting deals like you would live streamers, or I guess even shows like on networks where you can get it anywhere eventually, but at first it's exclusive through Spotify or iTunes. I don't know if iTunes is doing that yet, but it's interesting how podcasts are still such a huge commodity, and yet it's almost like it's too big of a thing to even put under the umbrella of the word podcast at this point. Like, it's almost like we need new terms for what some of these things are. It's such a different thing. John Mark, by the way, are you calling from a tin can? I know I sound tinny to you guys, but for some reason, John Mark, you usually sound pretty clear, but you sound a bit old-timey like phone. Yeah.
Yeah,
I have different headphones on. I'll switch over to my other ones.
Okay.
Put your Beats Bose ones on. You know, the expensive ones you have, please.
Mm-hmm.
The studio headphones, if you will.
Would you like to? Oh, hey.
Now Lyle is booming
That
through.
The fucking
like a real
scared
man.
me.
You're like looking up.
I was like, I gotta stop smoking pot.
Stop smoking the weed.
Yep, there it is. The John Mark sound. Actually, that's probably how I sound to you guys.
I had my Bluetooth headphones on because I was sitting outside when you called originally, and I just had those around my neck, so I just fired them up. But this particular version of the story, it was from 10 hours. It was 10 hours old when I looked it up earlier today, but I believe this story broke like yesterday. So there was a 33-year-old tech CEO. Was found dismembered in his New York apartment. So what happened was, this guy had been a part of a founder of, I think, 2 or 3 at least different sort of tech startups in different countries. I think he was involved in some kind of I think it was like a healthcare or some kind of medical startup in Bangladesh, I think maybe. And I think he might be from Bangladesh.
Yeah, his name is Fahim?
Yeah, it's Fahim Saleh.
Yeah.
He is a venture capitalist and CEO of this company called Gokada, which was like a motorcycle ride share company in Nigeria, kind of like a Uber, a motorcycle Uber or something like that, I think, in Nigeria. And and
Nigerian motor Uber.
So he was last
Sign
seen,
me up. Never.
He was last seen in some surveillance footage getting into his elevator in his apartment in Lower East Side of Manhattan. And as he got in the elevator, a man all dressed in black is seen entering into the elevator after him. And this guy also apparently had a mask on and gloves, and says that they think that once inside his apartment, the guy started to attack him. And so what happened was, like, his sister hadn't heard from him in a few days, and so she went to his apartment to check on him, and she found his torso in an area next to the living room, and other parts of his body were stuffed into individual bags in the apartment. So the guy had cut off like all his arms and legs and his head and stuffed them in separate bags.
Why?
And well, they don't know. They haven't yet determined a motive behind it, and the NYPD is still looking into how the attacker exited the apartment building. And they apparently, from his apartment, there was like another exit like way that went to like a down to like a, I don't know, like a garage or something, but there was a way to get out of his apartment that led outside the building.
Did you say that he was the alleged killer was caught on like security cam footage entering the building?
Yep.
So that's how they know they never saw him come back out.
No, exactly. So like they saw
they
him
post
get in
footage
the
of the
elevator with
guy?
him. I haven't seen anything like that, but they say that they have it.
And he's unmasked, like they could.
I from what I read previously, it said that he had gloves on, and I think he might have had a mask on as well.
Well, we are in a pandemic, so it's a perfect time. There's been a lot of people claiming that crime is way up because everyone's wearing masks now. There have been a lot of teenagers, I guess, caught dressing like old people, putting a mask on and going to buy booze, which isn't not a terrible idea. I haven't been asked to pull my mask down once for an ID check.
God, I haven't either. You know, the only place is at the weed shop. They make you. Well, they don't make you pull the mask down though. They just make you show the ID. Yeah.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
It's a heck of a loophole.
Yeah.
Hey, go ahead.
I have a question about the story. John Mark, so the instance, so the guy went into the apartment, did his deed, and then left and just never came back. Is that
apparently?
So like literally dismembered that fucker in the time he was in there, and then
left. And then took off. Yep, and just left him there.
How fucked up is his poor sister now?
Right?
Like, there's finding your brother dead, and then there's finding your brother fucking Venus de Milo'd.
Oh, why?
Yeah, that's
it's got to be a message. Or is it personal? I mean,
sounds
like,
mafia, right?
Yeah.
Listen, whenever there's huge money, you can never discount the mafia or a hit, even just like espionage or what did they call it?
We were trying to figure out, like Jen and I were talking about this, like what could the motive be? Like, you know, what I was thinking, well, maybe there was some like an investor or something that didn't feel like they got paid or were, you know what I mean?
What I'm
but
saying,
it's like,
yeah.
The amounts of money we're talking about here, this is not like this guy was like involved in like PayPal or Google or Facebook or some shit. These were smaller tech startups that, you know, that they brought in like millions of dollars, but not like in the double digits of millions necessarily, or even, you know, billions, you know what I mean? So it's not like it's like, but when you're talking about someplace like Nigeria, where like even $1 million is probably like more than it is here, like, who knows, like if you pissed off somebody.
Yeah, but
or
even then, why
like
a silencer and a couple bullets in the brain does that job, right?
Right.
This seems especially passionate.
That's like
or message sending.
Well, dude had to have like fucking a lot of experience. You know what I mean? To do that off, just dismember somebody like that, like that short of a time frame.
Butcher's choice. Yeah. That's why it feels like you know, mafia type stuff,
right? There's got to be more
or
to
Itchy
the story,
Killer,
but like
which I guess was
nothing that I read about this guy which admittedly has not been all that much, seemed like he was into anything that crazy. Like so the only thing that I read was that like, so they had this motorcycle rideshare thing, and then the Nigerian government changed some of the regulations regarding these motorcycles so that they couldn't do the same service that they had been doing. So they had to kind of pivot to more of like a delivery sort of thing. You know what I mean? So there was some stuff, governmental regulations and stuff going around, like how the business was run or what the actual, you know, the ability of what the service that they could provide was. So they had to kind of switch it up. But it didn't. But it's like, well, how would that like make somebody want to fucking dismember?
Yeah, dude.
Like, yeah,
just
there's some
dismember
missing
like when
shit.
you're dealing with drug lords and you're dealing with fucking or you're stealing from drug lords. You know what I mean? Like,
well, maybe
Yeah,
like,
could be cartel.
there you go. Like maybe some of the money that he got to get this thing going was a loan from that type of thing. But who knows? Like that's just speculation. Like I don't fucking know. It's just crazy. And it's like I was trying to think of any sort of reason why somebody could have to do something like that, and I realized, you know what? I'm not somebody who would even ever think of, no matter what someone did to me, I would never think I'm going to dismember them or have somebody else dismember them. I would never even think. I could never think of that. You know what I mean?
You can't rationalize.
So any reason that I could come up with would not be good enough, or I could not know if it was the reason because I could not conceive of that response to it.
Mm-hmm.
Just, it's crazy.
Could be random. Could be a serial killer. I mean, that serial killers can get that jiggy
I mean,
with
that
it.
happened to a woman in Seattle, like, what, last year? She went on a fucking Tinder date or some shit, and they found parts of her distributed in trash bins. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I do. Also,
What, like 2 years ago, maybe? It was recent. It was real recent. And it was like right when...
Well, there was also that body that those kids found on TikTok over in West Seattle.
I was just
going to
bring up.
In a suitcase.
Maybe this is all connected.
Weren't they somehow connected to the Black Lives Matter protest, or was that shot down later on?
I think it just happened around the same time, and all that shit was happening. That's the only connection
anything
that
been
I know.
discovered about that?
You know what? I think that story just came and went, and I haven't seen anything recently.
There's footage out there of these kids like out on the beach, Alki Beach, beautiful beach, sunny Seattle day, and they see this suitcase down by the water, and they're filming the whole time. And they're like, oh my God, we got to open it. And so they walked down to it, and they're like, holy shit, this smells bad. And so I think they called the cops before they opened it. Or am I wrong? Do you know if they opened it and then called it? I feel like they called the cops before they opened it because they smelled it and they're like,
I don't remember.
That smells like rotting.
I don't know. I didn't see any of the footage, but I think they might have actually opened it. That's the impression that I got from what I read is that they actually opened it. They were like, whoa, fuck.
That's a surprising day at the beach.
Brother, you ain't kidding.
Well, I guess we'll have to wait and see if anything develops here. I mean, there's cameras everywhere, so they got to have this guy coming back out at some point.
Yeah, this is like a very recent story, so I wouldn't be surprised if we don't hear more over the weekend at least.
Yeah. Fucking crazy. Guy was probably living the dream, heading home to his fancy penthouse, and yeesh. Hope he went quick. That's all I got to say.
Yeah.
For real.
Lyle, you got something?
What's in the box?
Mm-hmm.
You know, what's in the
Wait,
box?
everything but the torso, apparently.
Jeez. Well, you know, today I had dialysis, so I didn't really look too hard, but I went a little deep. I went about tip deep into the story.
That's fair.
I'm listening.
Yeah. So like with the invention of TV and good old Netflix, you know, typically you watch whatever you want, which is great. It's cool. Unsolved Mysteries has come back fierce.
Is this new? Is this new, or is it like it's not
brand
like
new.
It's brand new. Fuck
Oh,
yeah.
And it's great. It's unlike the first one. It's kind of more R-rated.
It's on Netflix. Is that where it is?
Mm-hmm.
Fucking killing.
Yeah,
There's
the
like 5
seasons-
episodes.
Yeah, the seasons went from 1987 to 2010. And so what I guess people are doing is going back and because they're so hooked on the new ones that they're going back through the old ones, and they're finding a lot of details for old cold cases, which I thought was really cool. They're solving mysteries that are, you know, decades old, just from people rewatching old stuff. Well, it kind of reminded me like what was the America's Most Wanted, you know, when that went around. That was kind of one of those things a lot of people were glued to. That was kind of one of those shock TV things, you know, like Geraldo, and you had your Jerry Springer and stuff like that. It was like shock TV. Obviously Jerry took it to a different level.
Yes, he did.
But like what is it, the America's Most Wanted, a lot of people would sit around the house, you know, or sit around the TV at night and with as a family and like watch the stuff. Just to see if they knew, you know, anything. It was like you're a mystery at home, you know, kind of thing. So that's kind of cool. I think I'm kind of really surprised they haven't done the America's Most Wanted reruns after, you know, this hit so hard. So
they might, because this is something that people devoured really quickly. I think it might have been a bit of a mistake to put out only 5 episodes, because people just went through them like that. Yeah, I went through them. They're really, really good. Yeah, but the problem is,
what did you think of that UFO one?
That one I need to go back and rewatch. I think I might have fallen asleep through a chunk of it. I was watching it late at night, and I can't remember a lot of the details, but I that's one of those where the witnesses, like the diversity and the different places and different locations, it's very, very believable that, I mean, something definitely happened. There's no question.
It was super believable, man.
But yeah, so I need to go back and rewatch it, but I'm intrigued. What do you think? What's your theory on it?
Fuck, dude, I don't know.
I mean, I don't want to give the premise even because it's
after
kind of
I watched it, I felt like a couple of those people got fucking abducted and probed, and put down. Like they all like. Yeah. There was so many people that lost time, and they were doing one thing. They were like driving a car. So there was like the one family that. So there was like the mother, the grandmother, and the son in a car, and I think that was the son, or was it? I don't know. It was like a child and a mother and a grandmother all in the car, and they were driving next to a bridge next to a river or something like that, and then they saw some weird lights started to kind of like come upon them, and things got weird, and they were like, what the fuck is this? What's going on? And then they basically woke up like in a different part of the state, like in the parking lot of a restaurant or something, like 3 hours later. And when they kind of like came to, they were like, what's happening? And the mother, who had been driving, was in the passenger seat, and the grandmother was in the driver's seat, and she didn't drive. And the kid was like, yeah, dude. It's like, what the fuck?
Programmed you. We programmed how to drive in
and
your
there was
butt.
There was like the kid.
Did you say through your butt?
They gotta have some reason for all the probing.
There was
the only way we can teach.
There was a kid who had been at like, I don't know,
accept our lessons.
I've used it before. Baby, it's the only way I can teach. Sorry, got you out there, Joe.
Now you know the story. There was the kid who had been at his, like, essentially his neighbor's house, which was, I don't know, probably like a quarter mile away from his house or something, that he'd gone over there to just sort of like draw pictures and stuff and hang out with their kids. And he just suddenly had this like compelling feeling like, I need to go home. And he like ran outside.
Yeah.
And he just ran outside, and he was going to run home, and he didn't like feel like he had any control over himself. And when he got outside, he was running, and he was like this. It was like when you're in the dream and you're running and you're not going anywhere, but he was like actually outside.
And someone saw him.
He was running in place. Like
someone saw him look
above the ground.
Someone looked out the window and actually saw him running in place, as if
running in
he
place,
was a cartoon.
And then he kind of like went up and like got hit, like in that movie Fire in the Sky, where when Travis gets hit by the beam and he's like boom, like hit by the beam.
Oh,
he's
sure.
like, that's what happened to me. It was like, just like this beam hit me, this beam of light, this thing came over and this beam hit me. And I just like, my arms went out to my sides, and I was just like, you know, basically in a T pose like that. And then it sucked me up into the ship. And, you know, and then there was another girl from a different part of the state that the same night the same, not the same thing, but she ended up like in the same ship, and like they kind of had memories of like kind of seeing each other there, and they met like again in real life later on, and they were like, why do I feel like we have some, like there's something about you that just, you know what I mean? And they didn't know, but they didn't remember that experience. And then after like they had like sort of started talking, they realized that, holy shit, we were in the same place that same night.
That's creepy as hell. Could you imagine going down a hallway and you're like on this like I don't know, lead-based fucking gurney, you know, floating with aliens around you as you're going down the hallway. You're strapped down on it. You turn over to look on the side and you pass somebody else.
The whole fucking story, like just all the different things that happened to all the different people in that same area. But what it covered, like almost like it was like one town to the next kind of. It was like two, you know, different. It was like a pretty good area that was involved with all these people, and it wasn't just like, oh, they were all in the same town. It was like this town and then down the river to this other town, kind of like spread out. And I just found all their stories very believable and compelling, and just like, what the fuck happened here? You know, this is just,
you know, that'd be kind of fun to do as a stuff like that as one of our movie nights, something on Netflix like that. Just watch.
What was the last one we picked? It was Lyle. You picked something and I got way excited. But I can't
wanted the new Blade Runner.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's not on Netflix.
I'm excited again.
Yeah, it's not on Netflix.
That's the great thing about being that's the great thing about being a stoner. You can be excited about it the first time, and when you're reminded.
Yeah, but it's the flip side, because you get bad news over and over again too.
That's a problem. That's a problem for future Chris.
That is a problem for future Chris. Well, anyone got anything else before we move on to some emails?
Well, yeah, sure. Speaking of Netflix and programs, so we've been watching this show on HBO Max called Search Party. Have you guys heard of it?
No, I don't think I have.
There's like 3 seasons out available right now, I think, and we're like at kind of like the beginning, maybe almost to the middle of season 2, and I just realized that it's very similar. So I don't know if any of you guys have watched Dead to Me on Netflix, but it's one of those shows where it starts out where you kind of like, you're not really sure if you like the characters, and you kind of like,
some of the 13 Reasons Why people, yeah.
Yeah, you're like, oh, I don't know if I like these people, and you know. But as the show goes on, like you start. The character development is really great, right? And you just like start to get more and more into the plot of these people, and they get more and more complex, and the plot just keeps twisting and twisting and ramping up, and you're like, what the fuck? How can they keep going? You know? And so Dead to Me has 2 seasons on Netflix, highly recommended. And Search Party is a similar thing on HBO, but it's about these like 4 essentially millennial friends. And when you the first episode or 2, you're just like, man, these people are all kind of shitty, you know? But then, so the basic premise is like, there's this girl, and she's kind of like, you know, shiftless and not really happy with her life, and doesn't really feel like she's doing anything. And then she finds out that somebody that she knew back in college has gone missing, or has been reported missing. And she's like, oh shit, what happened to her? And she's like trying to go find her, right? And so she tries to like get her friends on board and her boyfriend and stuff, and they're all just kind of like all self-involved and off in their own, you know, bullshit. And as the plot progresses, like you kind of start to understand these people more, and they just keep like, the plot just keeps ramping up and just like twisting and twisting, and you're like, how the fuck, how can it keep going? But it does. And the characters get more and more complicated, and you know what I mean? It's really, really good. I highly recommend it.
Okay. I will
Search Party.
Add it to the list.
Also Dead to Me.
Yeah, I think Sarah was watching that, and she liked it. There's too many things, man. Too many things to look at. Too many things to watch. Well, let's get on to some listener feedback. As I said, it's not a huge pile, but there's enough to get through here. First one is from Bonnie, and she says, hey guys, long-time listener and all that shit. Thanks for keeping me sane while I worked graveyard shift as a security guard. How many emails have we got? It started just like this. It sucked as bad as it sounds, but you guys got me through it. And now you're helping me through the virus shit. Just wanted to mention that I have straight up seen ghosts haunting the mall at which I work. And I'm hesitant to say the name of the mall, but it's rather famously known as being built on ancient tribal land. I feel like we talked about a mall that was built on ancient tribal land, or I guess there's a bunch of shit.
Aren't they all?
One of my favorite memes is, man, America's going crazy right now. It's almost as if the entire thing was built on top of some ancient Indian burial ground. Goes on to say, every now and again, listen to this, every now and again, I 100% hear Indian battle cries echoing through the mall.
Oh my God.
I've tried, when I was a kid, I remember when we were watching like Westerns or something, and those Indian, I don't know how, this was Hollywood versions of battle cries, but from what I've heard, they're very similar. The real ones are more terrifying, but I mean, that's what they're meant to do. Like, they're meant to invoke fear in their opponents on the other side of the hill. And just imagine hearing like a few hundred of those warriors giving these cries just before dawn, and when they're all supposed to meet on the field of battle. That would do the trick for me. I would poop my trow and fake dead and crawl on my tippy toes back home. But he says every time she says every time I whisper, every time I hear it, I whisper, I'm so sorry my people raped and killed you. But look, we have a $5 store.
Oh my God.
She says, okay,
wow.
Really, I just pee a little and continue my shift. Sad and spooky, don't you think? Yeah, both. It is both sad and spooky.
I could resonate with that story. You guys, we've already talked about it before. I was a security guard at a mall.
That's right.
I forgot about this, Lyle.
It was haunted, dude. I swear to God, it was fucking. There was some weird shit going on, dude, in that place.
I got to get her on and just fucking let you guys riff for a bit, you know?
The thing is, with the security job that I had, I had part maintenance too, right? So I would have complete control of the mall. I had the whole place locked down.
I own you.
Well, I mean, it's completely locked off.
Lyle Thompson, mall cop.
You can't get in. If you work at Zoomies, you got to have the front door. Unless you're an owner, then you go through your side. So, like, there was nobody in that place. And I remember it was late. It was probably about 12:30. I was trying to get my rounds done because I had a flip where I had to do, I had to close and then open the next day. So, like, we're talking 3 hours of sleep, 4 hours of sleep with that. It was about 12:30. I had to get back there at 5 a.m. To do sprinklers. So fucking, I'm vacuuming one of the entrances that have the 2 glass doors, and I swear to God, man, I was sitting there vacuuming with the vacuuming on. All I heard up above in the ceiling, which is like 12 feet tall, up in a corner, somebody yelling at me, just straight out vulgar. You're like, get the fuck out. And I shut the fucker off, and I looked around, and I said, okay, it sounds good.
All right. I've been meaning to quit anyway, so.
Right. But yeah, no, there was weird shit used to happen like that, for sure.
Can you imagine though battle cries? Like Lyle's saying, I mean, in the wee hours of the morning, way late at night, and maybe you're locking up, and all of a sudden you hear like war party cries. That paints a picture. That paints an audio pic straight from the depths of hell. Mm-hmm. And I guess it's kind of interesting that we're not all haunted by the Indians, the Native Americans that came before us. If you think about it, maybe they got better things to do in the afterlife, but some of them are just so pissed they got to come back and say, you know what, fuck you still.
Well, that's
like even
kind of cool. This was the cranky old fuckers I had to let in the morning to do their walking. We used to get vicious, dude. Mm-hmm. Vicious. We're talking 80, 90-year-old fucks. With
I brought my coupons.
where the fuck were you, sir? Want to get in, and I'm only like 5 minutes late.
Mhm.
Oh, I just want to get a coffee. We're late. We need to get in here, and all they do is walk.
I'm
They
2
walk
laps behind. I've
Before
called the
you-
sheriff, and he's gonna take care of you.
around. Yeah, it was fun times. I miss those days.
I remember running into you down there. I haven't been to the mall in for fucking ever. Okay, next, Angie says, "Holy shit, guys! I just heard the show on trucking, and I was listening as I was on a long road trip surrounded by long haul truckers." This is an interesting.
Oh yes.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite episodes. This is an interesting one here. She says, "Is it weird that I kind of found that show alluring? Not like I want to kill people at truck stops, but I got to be honest. Kind of anyway," she says. "Angela isn't my real name after all. But dirty, dangerous truck stop sex with strangers may just be a kink I didn't know I had." Goes on to say, "I haven't tried it yet, and I likely won't for obvious reasons. But role play, 10 fucking 4, good buddy. Thanks for the inspiration." And thank you for one of our best emails ever. I kind of get it. But please don't try. Don't have dirty, stranger, random truck stop sex for so many reasons. But by the way, I wonder how many kinks we have accidentally uncovered for our listeners. Because sometimes the shows are about kinks. Sometimes we talk about our kinks. We're kind of going to do that again coming up a little bit later. We're not really a kink, but more intimacy that'll get I think I said intimacy. I combined intimacy and impotence. I want to look into that. Well, it does play into where we're going.
Could you imagine if DB Cooper actually was a fucking stud and got a little like a Mile High Club action before he jumped out?
Oh, I feel like he did. You remember the reports from the stewardess was he's very charming. We talked about this in the DB Cooper episode going way the fuck back, like 10 years ago. And all the accounts were he was like Don fucking Draper, sitting in the back, cool as a cucumber, his black tie, smoking a cig, drinking a cocktail, maybe wearing shoes, maybe not. There's a discrepancy on that shoe bit. But they all liked him. He was kind, and he was, even when he hijacked the plane, he like handed them a note. It's like, "Look, baby, I know this is some spooky ass shit right here, but I'm going to need you to chill, toots." He was just like cool as a fucking cucumber, and they kind of seemed, the way they described it, they kind of course they were genuinely afraid that they were going to die, but also kind of turned on. We are weird, tricky creatures. So yeah, I think that a truck stop random fuck, I think that's a pretty decent fantasy. I get it. Just don't get it.
If I'd probably be the only one that would know this of this group, but I don't recall ever seeing a DB Cooper porno.
Well, if you haven't seen it,
I'm
well,
sure.
you remember I did the song.
I know that would be
DB Poopa. DB Poopa. Waka, 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 waka. Yeah, you guys got to go back and find that shit.
It was gold.
That was the whole idea, was that there's a DB Cooper porn. Let me look it up. There's a keyboard right here in the entire World Wide Web.
Pants are already off. Fuck it.
I'm already on all the FBI lists. Let's get on another. DB Cooper porn. Has to be.
Give us a sample. Just hit play. Let it go into the mic. Skip to like 3.5 minutes.
Well, interestingly, the very first result was the Wall Street Journal. It said The Curse of DB Cooper, but the summary is like,
this is getting less and less sexy.
Yeah, someone involved in the story ran a porn shop. That's not so. 8 great DB Cooper pop culture moments. No. Skydiving through Tristan's Skyjacker.
Oh my god! If
I
there's
think
no
I did
DB
something like
Cooper
that.
porno, we're quitting this podcast and doing that tomorrow.
That's
DB
the name
Cooper.
of fucking porn, dude. It's fucking Skyjack.
I'm gonna find that song and play it
Jack off. That's what we'll call it.
at the play out of the end of this
It writes
episode.
itself.
Let's remember when Skyjack or DB Cooper jumped out. No, there's nothing. I don't know why it's not pulling up any porn.
Is your safe search on again, Ron?
Well, let me just go to. Well, you know, it could be this is a new computer.
Source. You need to go to the source and just go to Pornhub.
I feel like I would instinctively turn the safe. Like that's the very first thing you do when you get a new computer. Yeah. Safe. I don't even want the word safe allowed. Block the word safe. Okay, I'm just gonna go to Pornhub and put it in DB Coop. See what we get. Big boobs. Shioni Cooper. No. Right. DB. That doesn't stand for what we thought.
No, that's not double penetration.
I see nothing. I think there may still to this day not be a DB Cooper. Pooper Scooper. Well, untapped. Indeed. DB Cooper. I can't remember what I think I was like, he'll hijack it.
Yeah, it was so good.
He's packing, coming soon to pack your parachute.
Got it on a drive somewhere, right? Can't you just pop it up?
I think it's on the Bandcamp. Remember I put all the old songs that I used to use. And, I'm pretty sure they're all up on that Bandcamp page. So I'll have to check that out. I think so is Alien Rain, which is decidedly unpolitically correct. Alien Rain. Christopher makes fuck with Twilight hair. Alien Rain. I once killed the boy while driving drunk. Alien Rain. Oh, good times.
One you did with the keyboard, it was like the very
Desert Hawk.
Yes.
I was making fun of that. What's funny is that I sometimes do that when we play live. But yeah, I was making fun of that dude who was playing down in Wenatchee. He was like, he had this great outfit. He's just one of these guys that like mid-50s takes himself way too seriously. He doesn't realize that it's no longer the 70s. But he's got like the little Madonna mic, and he was rocking out with his synthesizer and playing pretty good. But then like someone would walk by and he'd be like, "Hey, Cindy, how's it going? Long time no see." And then his playing would just be like, and as soon as they walked off, it'd be right back to it.
Oh my God. It was so good.
I made my own version of that. Yeah. It's good times. Back when I put in effort. All right, moving on. We got lots to get to. So thank you for that, Angie. That's amazing. Anthony, this is a quick one. Anthony writes, 9779779, please help me. Ah! I responded with not again, shakes in fetal position. He responded with LOL or haha. I love the How Bizarre podcast. Been listening to you guys since the beginning of Tales. Peace out. Short but sweet. Thanks for that, Anthony, and thanks for sticking with us. Good Lord. All of our ups, downs, going away-ins, changing the format. Yeah, we've changed quite a bit since day one, that's for sure. And speaking of 9779, I just put up a brand new article about it. Nothing new, but I don't think I'd ever really shared it locally other than just like my social networking. So I decided to make a formal page or article about radio intrigue in general. It's basically an encapsulation of our shortwave radio episode I did years ago. So you can check that out at thecometmagazine.com. Just posted that. So, and you can hear those clips. You can hear the original 9779 clip. If you don't know what I'm talking about, head over and find it. It's however you feel about it, it'll stick with you, even if you think it's a joke. And it probably was. Probably. Anyway, very nice note here from Todd. Ron and crew, for whatever it's worth, and whatever.
Now we're just crew.
And the rest. Oh. He totally just and the rest of you guys. It's funny. It didn't occur to me. Of course it wouldn't, because I'm named. Dear Ron and crew, for whatever.
The inflection doesn't.
It's so much more enjoyable.
Wait,
and crew.
Oh, that say? What did that say? I just got back.
It says, Dear Ron and crew.
Do it again, Ron.
And the rest, for whatever it's worth, and whatever you can take away from this, I started listening to you guys quite some time ago. Looking back through the Tales from the Space Pod archives, 2013, show 125, I submitted the story on Portland's Jumper Bridge. I remember that. Now I'm trying. Boy, I can almost remember what he was a member of the forum. Remember when we used to do that? He was a contributor there. That's probably where he. Oh yeah,
I remember that.
He goes on to say that. I submitted the story on Portland's Jumper Bridge in the now defunct Tales from the Space Pod forum. Before that, I had submitted a live paranormal encounter there, which you read on a previous episode. I lost track of you guys shortly thereafter, life preoccupations. In any event, to keep this short in scope, of course we've all been thrust into the new normal of COVID-19. As with many, I have been consumed with keeping up to date with current events since mid-March or so. I suffered a personal loss in April. Not diving into the personal, though, but it's been a struggle. Anyway, under stay-at-home rules, any distraction is quite welcomed for the usual YouTube experience, news coverage, and reruns. So a week or so ago, the Tales from the Space Pod show jumped back into memory. I thought, perfect, those guys up in Wenatchee. The show was really interesting from memory. The dynamic really good between hosts, and Wenatchee being somewhat Northwest local, this gem is exactly what I had been missing. So I entered Tales from the Space Pod into my browser and soon was returned with the familiar page art. Then an instant sinking feeling as I read on to discover last show headlined for April 10th. Good Lord, not long ago. I assumed April of this year. I scrolled down a bit further and more sinking dread. Lyle had developed a serious cancer. This all isn't it crazy that happened that was all happening as Tales from the Space Pod was ending. Like, I feel like that was so recent that all of that would have been on this show. Crazy. This all seemed expected somehow, fitting with the recent Upside Down world. Tales from the Space Pod was even falling victim and soon no longer an escape as a result of everything else shuttering and closing, like my local bar, food joints, and real-world escapes. I figured I'll tune into that final show scheduled for the 10th of this month, expecting it to be a somber experience, off-tone from what I recall. Before clicking out, I caught at the top of the banner, "Look for the new show, How Bizarre." Where's hope? That raised a smile because I recalled the show, pretty sure it was around 125, where Ron mimicked the OMC tune. Shortly after reading that submission story of mine, I decided I would tune in sometime, perhaps in the weeks ahead, envisioning Ron alone without Lyle or the familiar dynamic of the old show. I revisited Tales from the Space Pod on various pod pages tonight on a whim and couldn't figure out why the final show had a set time as if it had already taken place. Maybe it was pre-recorded. So I hit play and it took me a minute to figure out that I was listening to a show from a year prior. From there, I hunted down the new show, located the website, and was surprised to see it appeared to have a weekly backlog. I hit play on the most recent show from April 24th, and the dynamic was just as I had remembered, including Lyle in attendance. Obviously, he had recovered and seemed quite well. Little bit of reassurance after expecting the worst. Sort of a momentary reminder on the small scale of how this expected bleak outlook can take hold in regard to just about everything in light of recent events if you allow it to. This is running long, but I appreciate the continuation of the show and won't lose track of the bookmark. It is a welcomed escape from just about anything else listening-wise. You guys are truly underrated and deserving of a much greater audience. I think so, too. This guy's a genius. If you could get into more ears. Looking forward to future podcasts. I'll sure be listening. My sincere best and appreciation to each of you. Todd. What a sweet and thoughtful and heavy email.
Yeah. It was great, except for the whole Ron and crew part.
Yeah,
great.
Crew, do you have any thoughts?
That was a great email.
Yeah, no, he's right. We are the longest running, least successful podcast I'm pretty sure in history. I swear to God, that is the truth. Like,
I think it
I
has
bet
to
if
be.
we could contact fucking Guinness record books, they could do some digging, and they could probably verify that we have been on the air the longest and are the least successful. And if they did verify that, I would be sort of happy about that.
Get little trophies.
Well, let's see right here. It was very sweet too that he was concerned about Lyle, and yeah, if you listen to that last episode, everything was up in the air. He hadn't. I'm trying to think. That last episode was, at least part of it was WenCon, and you hadn't had surgery by that point.
Yeah, it was at WenCon, and I didn't even know I had cancer. It was the last live episode we did.
So we did half of it. I can't remember what the second half was. We did a half and half show for that very final one, but yeah, I bet a lot of people were like,
well, you guys don't even know. I'm serious. Like I was done. I was pretty much done.
Yeah.
Because, time is short.
Mm-hmm.
Have we really been doing How Bizarre for over a year now?
In a year and a half.
Yeah, isn't that crazy? This is episode 31.
Feels like we just started.
We missed plenty of weeks, obviously, or it'd be 52. But it does feel like we just started. There were a lot of things that popped up. Life got crazier somehow when we first started. But going back, so our very first episode of Tales from the Space Pod was Monday, July 5th, 2010.
No way.
Yeah.
Wow.
Exactly. Pretty much exactly a decade. We've been saying it's 10 years old for a while now, but it's been, like 8.5, then 9.5. But now we're officially over the 10-year mark. Yeah. And if you count both shows, over 380 episodes. So we've almost done 400 podcast episodes. We have to be at least in the running for the longest running, least successful podcast of all. Now, don't misunderstand us. We are not taking any of our listeners for granted. When we first did the show, I remember being stoked when we passed like 20 downloads, and then a while later 50, and then 100. And that it took a long time, but we got into the thousands. We're like 3,000, I think, was about the highest we ever got for like the immediate download. That was our pinnacle, and we've never really gone back that far. Now we dance around 1,000 to 1,500 on a good first week for the episode, and trails off from then. That's a lot of people for a bunch of nobodies, but yeah, you got at one point you have to think: are we just super niche? I feel like we're as good as a lot of the shows that I listen to in terms of the content and the personalities. We've grown a lot, of course, and we've gotten better at it. But yeah, it's just one of those things. It is what it is. We tapped out at around $3,000, and I'm pretty happy with that, really.
I think in this day and age, well, even back in the day, when we first started, we're like, podcasting as a medium had only been around for a couple of years as far as something that people even knew about it. And even now, like a lot of people that I know don't even fucking listen to podcasts,
Right.
But it has really exploded in the last few years as far as like something that you could do as a business. Right. Mm-hmm. And the way we approach it, it's just like, for the most part, it's just an excuse for us to kind of hang out with each other and talk about shit and kind of have a hang, as it were, while providing content for the people that have been following us for the last 10 years. But for us to really turn it into a business where it was like, okay, yeah, we're making money on this and it's something that we do professionally, we would have to focus on just that, have somebody focused on like all the social media, all that stuff, the business side of it. And life is just too complicated, I think, for all of us right now to do that ourselves. And I really think that we would have to have somebody who's like, their sole job is to like kind of promote us and work the social media and do all that stuff that you need to do to kind of really compete in this sort of landscape that we have now that's out there.
Breakthrough. I know with COVID, a lot of people decided that they would take up streaming. Everybody's at home. Why not? You got a webcam, got a computer. Why not do it? And it's like tripled. And with that, the bigger streamers are doing podcasts. So it's starting to get washed out as a commodity, because there's a lot doing
There's
it.
a million of them, but half of them, or more than half, will never see episode 10. That's always been the case. But back to the point of longest running. There were podcasts before these, but I think at least in kind of the world that we live in, whether you listen to these people or not, I'm trying to think of, like, Joe Rogan's first podcast was 4 months before our first podcast. Adam Carolla's first podcast was like 3 months before our first podcast or something like that. So we've been trucking along as long as some of the biggest people. Of course, then there's people that fired it up and had success immediately because they're already famous. But yeah, I don't know what it is, but for whatever reason, I'm choosing to focus on the people that are following us and the people that have been loyal and love us. And
I'm kind of proud of our status, honestly.
Being the longest running, least successful.
Yeah, it kind of makes me feel good in a way.
Honestly,
like be number one at something, and if it's being last,
I think it's gonna be cool as fuck when we're way old and we can pull up these episodes and see this chapter of our lives and what we were talking about and how we respond to things. And
it's the world's most detailed journal. And holy shit, have we been forthcoming and
candid.
Vulnerable and candid.
Yeah. So this kind of makes up for the fact that, so I don't know if this, applies to any of you guys, but I see, friends of mine post stuff on the Facebooks and the Instagrams and the whatnots, like pictures that they took back in the 90s or whatever. And I'm like, man, why didn't I take more pictures back then? You know what I mean? Like, it just wasn't a thing that I did.
Wasn't a thing anyone
I just didn't take pictures. And some people just did. Some people just took cameras around with them everywhere and just took pictures of everything. And like, I was like, man, I wish I had some more like documentation of some of these times and events. And
I wish
our
our family would have spent $500 on a video camera.
But now that you mention it, we have a decade of our lives basically on tape that we can go back and go, oh, what was I doing in 2010?
Yeah.
You know?
Who was I dating? Where was I living? What was what movie was blowing my mind? Like everything.
When I'm not afraid of my son being offended by, or not, I guess, disturbed or
destroyed.
When he's like 13, 14, 15, I'll feel comfortable being like, check out this cool thing I did once.
Really, 13?
Before Uncle Ronnie died in a tragic orgy.
It was a peeping related accident.
Before Uncle Ronnie died of experimental trucker sex at the truck.
I decided to do it for realsies. No more fantasy for me.
Iceland or whatever country he's been spying for.
You mean John Mark?
Lyle's still kicking strong though.
So I guess that's a good way to look at it. It's like, because I always think of like, oh, well, maybe I should have been writing a diary too, or this and that other thing. It's like, keeping a notebook. But it's like, this is our notebook.
Yeah.
This is our diary. This is our documentation.
It's so much better too because it's fun to listen to. Because it's like going back and hanging out with old friends. I don't know how often you guys ever go back and listen to old episodes. I do it from time to time to find reruns or reference something more and more for the comment. I'm looking at I know I did all this research for the show. I need to go back, or this topic. I need to go back and listen to it so I don't have to do it all over again. But it's so much fucking fun. You just get lost in it. Like you're listening to it for the first time. And especially like pre-accident and post-accident, there's a lot of those stories that I lived. I don't fucking remember them. So hearing me talk about them is really going to be key for when I'm full on Alzheimer's in 8.2 years. But it's a super fucking cool thing to have just on that alone. Moving on, and we're all over the map tonight. This one's charming. It's titled A How Bizarre Love Story by Jeffrey. Jeffrey says, guys, I had to email and say thanks for being our third. I'll explain. He says, I'll explain. I met a girl on Tinder this past winter, and we hit it off via text right away, talking about weird shit. We lived 50 miles apart, so we didn't meet right away, but the girl I met told me she listens to a great podcast that I might like and I should check it out, called How Bizarre. So I started listening, and she was right. I really dug it. What's really cool is that we started bonding over things that jumped out at us from each episode, and we both agreed on who our favorite host was, which I won't say here as to remain diplomatic, which means it's me, right? It's got to be me. I think it might be one of the crew. Goes on to say, we finally met a month later and went to the ocean together. And as we drove...
It was Lyle.
And as we drove, she saw a brand new episode was up. It was your grim and pleasant show that paired horrible public deaths with lovable snack food treats. We thought it was brilliant. Anyway, I had to write to let you know that there are... I'm overdue for a grim and pleasant.
Yeah, we got to do that again.
I thought I'd let you know that there are little love stories out there that you guys are part of and likely would never know. Thanks for helping me get laid. And yes, we are still dating and still listening together. P.S. I got in trouble once for listening to the show without her a while back. Never again. How about that? We all know that, right? Like when somebody watches something without you. You're like, you watched it without me? Oh yeah,
these are my favorite ones that we get when people talk about how they get together over bonding over our show.
I never think about that shit at all. I
swear to God, we don't. Every time you do one of these episodes, I get so fucking pumped up. I'm like instantly like, we gotta do more shit for the show.
Yeah,
we gotta do more shit. Like, we just need a little bit more feedback, and I think I would be way more motivated.
Yeah. And maybe a little more money. Now's a good time to say, fuck Patreon. I'm not pushing Patreon anymore. I don't like that company, and I don't like the model. I don't want you guys to have to sign up for anything. We all subscribe to too many fucking things. How about paypal.me/thecometmag? That's already set up. It all goes the same thing, but you don't have to do an ongoing thing. I mean, listen, if you want to do an ongoing thing, God bless you. Patreon.com/Tales from the Space Pod. I don't want to shit on anyone who wants to do it. But, God, I don't know. I keep reading shitty stories about Patreon and I just don't know if it's the right time to be asking someone to sign up for, and we don't even fucking sign up to this thing. Sometimes we podcast, sometimes we don't. So if you want to throw us a little lump sum, paypal.me/thecometmag. I will eventually set up all of these things to be under the same name, so it's not 15 different entities to remember, but I never think about it until now, and then I'll forget about it then. Anywho, so we do appreciate that. Yeah, love stories, people meeting and bonding over us. You know, the bonding part, I hear those stories of it all the time, honestly, from just people that I know that listen to it. It usually is couples, you know, that listen to it together, and they'll often pause. Especially if they're on a road trip together or something, they'll pause and they'll start talking. Like if we ask a question around the table, like we're about to end on, then they'll stop and say, how would you answer that question? Or what do you think about that? What do you think about this movement or this conspiracy theory or this, whatever topic we're talking about? Like, here's my theory on it. I love hearing those stories. And it's just like, we all live that because we all watch our own shows. We all listen to our own podcast, and we've all experienced that together. But it's funny how, yeah, you're right. When you're not reading an email, you don't think about it at all. It's just something we put up. I'm always aware kind of that people are listening, but that's a weird thing that happens once. It's usually about 3 to 5 minutes in. I kind of forget that we're doing a podcast, and I'm still in my podcast mode, but it's just like hanging out with you guys, and I'm telling the story to you guys, my crew. It's just me and the crew. And
I mean, if you're doing it yourself, it's fucking hair-racking, Yeah. If you're trying to do a complete show by yourself, trying to entertain nothing, it's just like, it's hard.
I've done that. I've done solo. Even when I do like little intros and stuff, it feels foreign. It's like, I'm just going to look at my cat. In a world where, okay. I'm going to skip these last a couple. These will both be quick. I think we've covered this before, but let's go ahead and do it again. I don't remember where you guys all stand on it, but Michael says, where did I get Stan? Michael says this show is great. Just found it and marathoned all 20-some shows, and I was bummed that I'd got through them all until I heard you mention the old show a few times recently. That's kind of like what Todd went through. In reverse. My heart cup runneth over. Holy shit. 350 new shows. Well, new to my ass anyway. Can't wait to dig in. Thanks for keeping it going.
How do you think someone responds to... Because I do feel like we're a little less... We're a little jaded now. You know, we're older. I mean, I'm definitely less fucking happy-go-lucky.
How does someone respond to episode 1?
Yeah, going back to like fucking 10 years ago when there's a glimmer of hope in some of them.
I still maintain that we should start going through, you know, there's all these podcasts where stars from, like, whether it's The Office or some sci-fi show where they're like, they sit down and they watch every episode. Well, they couldn't play the show because they don't own the rights, so they would just have to review it and talk about it. We own the show. We could play the show in Mystery Science Theater-esque / film commentary, this stuff, and we could hear it for the first time. Cringeworthy. I think that would be a unique experience, and we could do it every now and again. We're going to just try it with episode 1. But yeah, somebody years ago, even like this is back when we were still doing SpacePod, they discovered us at like episode 200, and they liked us so much that they went back to listen to episode 1, and they're like, whew, this is... They didn't use the terminology like rough or bad. It was just like, they said jarring, and it's totally fair. It's a completely different thing. We sound completely different. We talk differently. I certainly do. I always feel like those early episodes, I just sound like I'm trying to do Butthead. Like, so this fucking Bigfoot characters, you guys think about that? He's pretty weird, right? I just feel like it was such a... I feel like I was so bad at it. Everyone says I'm too hard on myself when I say that, and yet, and I think I am, but I'm telling you, man, go back and listen. It's a different experience, but I think it's worth picking up some of those older ones. We need
to figure out how to do so. Maybe utilizing that app that Chris was talking about, where you can see everybody on the screen watching a movie at the same time. Yeah. Maybe we need to like do a reaction video of us.
That's a good idea. That'd be a fun one to do a video cast. I'm all set. I think I'm all set up for that. Let's talk about that soon and test it out. But I should be all dialed in with this new setup. I tested it the other day and it seemed to work pretty well with even if using Skype. But there's other things to use too, which you might want to look into, including Facebook Messenger now has a pretty reliable video stream where you can do group calls on. So we'll play around with it. Anywho, Michael continues. I just heard the Vic Mignogna show, and at first I was a bit creeped out because I knew about the scandalous stuff. But, man, that guy has so many people defending and supporting him, and many of the people in his industry, the ones that came out against him, have recently been outed as being sexually inappropriate both on the job and at cons. You guys have thoughts on it? Yeah, we've talked about it before. I mean, it's impossible to really weigh in one camp or the other fully, but you're right. In a wave of Me Too-esque revelations, accusations, people being toppled, people being outed and ousted, a lot of them rightfully so. Vic's is an interesting case because there are some provable things, including, I mean, he admitted that he had cheated on his fiancée numerous times, which is why she left him.
Hear her whisper, what?
Oh, God. Go back and listen to that episode, which we reran on How Bizarre. It's back there. But so, he was doing some shitty things, and as far as like hugs and groping at the conventions, that's tricky shit because one person, as we talked about, they'll be fine with it, thrilled by it even. The next person will be like truly troubled. So it's one of these things where it's like best practice. we should all just like try to not be so huggy and gropey. But again, we've talked to several people that we know who work at these events and these conventions who are female, and they have not only flirted and been gropey with some of these celebrities themselves, but in some cases straight up hooked up with them. And that part of their world and their lifestyle being pushed out is not something they're interested in. So it's a tricky fucking scenario.
I think the main thing is that if you're not a creep, like, you have a pretty good idea of when you're going to have consent and when you should ask somebody for consent. Like, hey, I kind of feel this way. Can we continue in this direction? But if you're a fucking creep, you're not going to do that. You know what I mean? You're just going to kind of do what you want to do regardless of what's going on. And there's a difference there of like knowing, sure, people can hook up, that's fine, but there's like it's different. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And then people like, so in this case, people,
it is different when someone is straight up approaching you. Although I don't know,
they don't necessarily have power, but they have a perceived power, over people because of their celebrity status.
That's the thing.
That gives them a little bit more of an edge on like maybe doing something that somebody would normally be like, hey, I'm not comfortable with this. But since they're like, oh, but this someone is I look up to, so they don't quite they're like, why? You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It's bad. So, and I think that people prey on that. And so basically it just comes down to consent. And yeah,
there is still that dynamic of power. So is that ever going to not be a tricky scenario, even when there's consent, even when there's a grown adult that just straight up wants to fuck you? On that, when you have met in that capacity, in that dynamic, I think that's one of the trickier things that we keep coming up against. We can all agree on, when fans come up to get their photos. Christopher, I just saw going through some old shit, your ex with her arms around, what is it, Jason Momoa?
Oh yeah. Uh-huh.
And they're all smiling. They all couldn't be fucking happier. Uh-huh. Now all the hands were in appropriate places, but that one, hip to hip, arms are completely around your upper waist, that one thing could offend somebody or make them feel taken advantage of. So is that all of that going to go away? It's tricky.
Have you seen that collection of Keanu Reeves photos from cons?
I feel like I have, but remind me.
It's like an album with like 40 pictures of him posing with fans, and in every single one, his hands are outstretched with his palms open, so he's not actually touching them. His arms, like you can see his fingers.
Like the Black Lives Matter hands up movement. Is that why he's doing it?
But like no, they're like around, like if you're gonna put your arm around someone to like pose for a photo, but instead of touching their side, you just hold your hand straight out behind them with your fingers outstretched, never touching them. Like almost like no hands on.
But it's smart.
But it doesn't look weird. It's just like you notice, like when you're looking at it, you can see it in every single photo.
It's called
like he just no. It's
yeah,
a no touch.
I think the key is to like have a policy like that where you're like, there can be no misinterpretation of my intentions here whatsoever
on the job.
And that's something that somebody like Keanu, who for all we know has, the ability to say, I'm a good guy and I'm not going to do anything to make anybody uncomfortable. And there can be no doubt about my intentions.
He's one of those guys that almost everybody just feels good about.
Yeah, and if you are, someone who maybe it's not going to go to that extent, then you should probably be saying, "Hey, are you okay with me putting my arm around your waist?" And if they say yes, then you do it. Fine. But if you're like a creep who wants to cop a feel, you're just going to do that.
Joe Biden sniffy sniff.
Do a little squeeze here or there, and that's you know what I mean? That's different. It's like all those things are different, and the creep is not going to ask for someone's consent. They're just going to do what they want to do.
Yeah,
I think that level of stature, I think you should probably have like a handler that does that, sits in line.
Literally, a handler.
Before you go up to somebody, that's famous and say, listen, this is what's going on. Don't grab them, don't touch, blah, blah, blah. and move on. You know.
Yeah, well, that's where we're headed. Quickly before moving on to this last email, have you guys followed or looked into any of this QAnon stuff, or the Tom Hanks being accused of being a pedophile for years to the point where he's had to like silence his Instagram?
Dude, I can't even fucking go there, dude. Fucking,
I can't either, but people that I like and respect,
that's the most fucking like
keep pushing me toward it. Not that I'm buying into it. I'm like, what? Honestly, my biggest problem with a lot of this shit, because I do believe that there's a pedophile problem in Hollywood. I think there's ample evidence of that, but just in the same way that there was a Harvey Weinstein sexual predator problem, you know, the casting couch problem, whatever you want to stick your dick in, men have been using whatever position of power they have to do it. So I believe that. I believe that that's a thing. Whether or not there's this ring, Jeffrey Epstein ties into all of this, and there seems like there's possibly some sort of coalition that, you know, are tied together by secrets.
If it's tied to QAnon at all, I just fucking tap out right away, because
like I was saying,
the whole fucking thing is a giant fucking troll.
Yeah, it seems to be pretty well debunked, but that doesn't stop people anyway. But the thing that really trips me up about it is that it all seems to come back to one thing, and that's Satan. Like all of these conspiracies, like look it up. It all comes back to these are Satanists. I just saw one today. One of my friends who I like just posted this thing about Lady Gaga being involved in these, what were they called it? Spirit cooking? Like some sort of witch,
I don't know,
satanic thing, and supposedly some guy.
Katy Perry is supposed to be part of the Illuminati too, and it's just like fucking fuck off with all that shit. There's no Satan. Fuck off.
Yeah, and Tom Hanks apparently is one of the ringleaders. Like Tom Hanks, that's a hard sell for a lot of us. Not that he couldn't be a creep. It'd be heartbreaking.
I think we can all agree, like Satanism isn't like running around like with the devil with pitchforks. It's
Satanism.
So what people think, like when in the general public, what people think of Satanism doesn't exist the same way that Antifa doesn't exist. It's like it's just not real.
It's not an organized.
It's fucking boogeyman.
Yeah, but so whenever I see Satanism or Satan, like these worship these, whether they're drinking, what is it, adrenochrome from babies that they're murdering, the sex trafficking thing. It's like how many conspiracies get steered into this one QAnon theory, but who knows? I'll look into it eventually. Maybe we'll do a show, because I'm curious, just like flat earthers. I'm curious just from a standpoint of like, what do these people actually believe? Where are they getting their quote unquote facts? But what drives me fucking crazy more than any other movement, if you will, the QAnon people will post from every, like, there's never been a better time between COVID and QAnon and Satanism. There's never been a better time to be a nobody news website, because you'll look at some of these websites that post these stories that they're like, see, I told you this was happening. And it'll be like, Kevin Williams News 6. You know, they always put a number in there to make it sound official, or it's just like, what the fuck media outlet is this? It's a blog some dipshit in Ohio made, and you're passing it around, possibly destroying people's lives with these accusations, because you want it to be true. It's all down to that old classic thing. You want it to be true. So you find the stories that tell you you're right.
Well, that's the same thing that happened with the fucking Comet Ping Pong and the whole Pizzagate thing. It's like,
yeah, but it's the same people. It's the same people that believe this.
And none of that was true at all. And it was just like,
yeah. Well, I guess if we do get footage of Tom Hanks on Pedo Island fucking a child, we'll have to deal with that. But we are entering the age of, I mean, we're already here, but it's only going to get, the next couple of years, it's going to get crazy. Things are about to get fucking bananas, man, when the next level of being able to fake videos.
Deepfakes.
We're already in a tricky scenario, but we still mostly buy video that we see. That's that's about to change, and then we're gonna really be in a crazy, confusing world where anyone can just After Effects somebody that they want to accuse to try to get money or to try to get thrown in prison or to try to blame a crime on. I mean,
it's all going to be right there. All that being a given, which you're right. I mean, think about it, guys. We have 4 months until this country is going to go fucking ape shit.
Oh, yeah.
November with the fucking election. It's going to get fucking bad.
Not to mention the states are still locked up.
Yeah, we're about to get moved back. Oh, what was Inslee? What was his latest speech today? Are we going back to phase 1?
I did not see it.
I thought one of you watched it. California basically went back to phase 1. Other states are starting to be like, that, we opened. No, not ready.
I think he said something about you can't have more than 10 people for outdoor or indoor gatherings or something. Like for like public events, like like live music and stuff.
I know
bars are closed.
I know 6 or
bars
7
are closed again.
People in town.
Masks are mandatory in public.
Bars are closed again. They said that.
Yeah, bars are closed again.
Oh, I didn't hear that. I know a handful of people that have it in town. They're fighting through it. One of them
COVID?
One of them in the household just died from it. So it's hitting here for the first time, really.
I think it's like 300 per side. Chelan and Douglas County, it's like 300 something.
Well, that's worse than Kitsap.
We're one of the worst in the nations for if you go by per capita. One of the worst. Because we're fucking idiots. Freedom, etc. As opposed to, I don't know what's true, and I don't like the idea of tyranny or new mandates, but fine, I'll wear a fucking mask. That's all you got to do. That's all you got to do. And, stay home, and the rest would hopefully fix itself. But tricky fucking times. Anyway, one last email here. And this is a doozy. This is from Jess. And she says, quick around the table question for you fine gents, or whatever your pronoun. Thank you for asking. I'm fine with gent. If you had to lose any part of your sexual anatomy, and I mean any part, what would it be? Balls, shaft, dickhead, nipple, ass? What would it be? And she answers herself. She says, P.S. Mine is nipples. Those things are as dead as a broke dick dog. She says,
"You're not going to stop by at my house in the middle of the night, are you?"
I'm taking a survey, and I'll be showing up soon. She said, "It's
yeah,
cute."
No shit. She's gonna wake up and hear you have chosen poorly.
What are you doing with this information, Jess, or any of our listeners out there? By the way,
is this for a fucking report?
Book report. Yeah, college is coming back up. She says those things are as dead as a broke dick dog. It's cute to watch dudes go to town on them like it's doing anything for me. They're having fun at least. Yeah, I've dated girls that just kind of have like numb tits. And it is kind of a bummer, even if because you can have fun going to town on them, but it's not the same. they're getting nothing out of it.
Love it. Some women love it. Some men do too.
Oh yeah, I think in my experience, most women like the nipple is a very, very sensitive area that's like directly tied to your sexual organs. Like it just lights them up like fucking Christmas. But some don't. And I've dated a couple of girls that are like that. And I'll be honest, I just avoided the tits, even though I like tits. I grab them occasionally, but I wouldn't, go to town on them like you normally would. So she's right about that. So round the table, I don't do a ton of nipple stuff. I mean, that's kind of a cop out to pick my nipple, pick one of my nips, but I do like nipple stuff, but I'm going to pick something from the more, I suppose, hollowed ground, if you will. I need my balls because that's where, I'm a balls guy. I don't know about y'all, but I like anything sucked or licked down there, but balls are, that's where it's at. That's where I'm like, all right, I've had enough of whatever that stuff is. Let's finish this shit off. Me a good ball activity. Am I willing to trade that from a dick, though? I think.
Wow,
God.
I mean, like,
I guess I'll
where does the cum come from if you don't have the dick?
Yeah, I don't know how you get rid of your ass.
Is it like is it all or nothing, or can you go for just one? Like,
Well,
can you go for just one?
She says
Well,
balls, shaft. Apparently, you can get your dick head cut off but still have your shaft.
Well, you could get your dickhead chopped off and then sewed back on after you take the bath. It's got just
It's just a mushroom, literally a mushroom with balls in it. Boy, I don't know
if that
that
would be
good deep dicking that so many people enjoy, but I'm gonna go with that. I think Lyle just talked me into it. Yeah, get rid of the shaft. Leave me the dickhead. Good and sensitive. It's the widest part. You can still get some shit done. And yeah, the balls remain intact. Tough question. Chris, what say you?
This is fucking ridiculous.
Answer it.
This is interesting though, because truth be told, guys, you may have noticed this about me. You may not have, but I have occasionally a problem where my nipples are just fucking hard all the time. Like I'm always nipping. I fucking hate it.
Do you chafe when you run?
No, it's not always hard, but like they get hard all the time. So like all the time when I'm hanging out with my friends, they'll be like, Jesus, you nipping over there, buddy? What's going on? I'm like,
oh, people are noticing.
So
I don't think I've ever noticed.
Just take them. You'll be doing me a favor.
No wonder you wear sweaters in the summertime. So yeah, that's probably the easiest one for most dudes. It's like just snip them things off. But I got to be honest, I'd like some titty licking. I've got super sensitive teats. That's good stuff.
Yeah,
I think the shaft might actually be my least sensitive place. I mean, it's like it's tough to really. It's kind of tough to compartmentalize what you're feeling in any particular activity. But yeah, I think I would miss the shaft the least, even more than my nips. If I'm being honest. Although come surgery time, I'm saying, yeah, take the tits. Lyle, about you?
I'm a bouncy ball kind of guy. You know, there's a lot of there's variable force down there, if you know what I'm talking about.
A couple avocados dangling down.
It would be tough even if you took one, because then you're lost.
Yeah.
You walk in circles because.
Well, they can put a prosthetic in there. That's what they usually do.
That keeps us centered, you know, from our left to as we walk, you know. Having the lefty and righty, you know.
I don't know if that's medically sound, but okay.
But it's prosthetics, so there we go.
All right.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a tough one, man.
Might be the toughest.
I'm going to tell you that I had a surgery a long time ago where I thought I had 3 balls. Honest to God.
More data required.
True story. Yeah. I was a kid. We were, I did a lot of manual work when I was a kid. Just around the house, chopping wood, blah, 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 whatever. Mm-hmm. And it came in time for sports. It was like 7th grade or something like that. And we had to have a physical to do sports. So, doctor's, all right, well, drop your parents. And I'm like, okay, fine. Sir, you seem to have a problem down here. I look, what do you mean? You don't have 3 balls? And I had a hernia.
Oh, yeah.
And it penetrated down through.
You and your pathetic 2 earthling balls.
you freak! Don't you agree?
By the way, I love that your doctor is Foghorn Leghorn. Now what do we? I say now, what do we got down here?
Boy. So I had that surgery. And that was fun. And I mean, it's kind of sexual, right? Wow.
I mean, you let your freak flake fly, Lyle.
Did
you
keep old Trippy? You're going to live in a jar with me forever, Trippy.
And if that didn't count, I'd probably go with the nipple.
Okay. Yeah, I feel like most guys would probably. And please, by all means, give us feedback. Let us know how you would answer this. Really curious how John Mark's going to go with this one. I've got no guesses.
Oh, he's going full nip.
Hey, well, he'd have to get rid of his. Don't you have your tits pierced?
Nope.
Really?
Yeah.
Do you have any piercings on your torso?
Got my tongue pierced.
I wonder why I thought.
Why did I feel like you had your tit pierced too? It's just that sexy tattooed body you have.
Every time
he's got a Fleetch's star, or is it Sneetches?
Man.
I really wanted to post
Just give us that tit
series of-
ring vibe.
Yeah, that vibe. I really wanted to post that series of screenshots I took of our conversation pre-podcast last week.
You should. It's pretty. I
Well,
consent.
well, you guys are shirtless. How would you feel about it?
I
What
consent.
if we put a photo? What if we
John
Photoshop
Mark?
one of those hats on you? One of those cat in a hats hat?
Mhm.
But
John
like-
Mark,
What?
do you consent?
Yeah, sure. What the fuck?
To
I
give you
can
a cigar and some whiskey?
Yeah.
get into fucking Microsoft Paint and just paint a shirt on you.
I don't remember
Or
Lyle sending one, did he?
No, I didn't. Want
No, remember I was like, I'll post it. It's fun.
I was doing my best to look irritated and whatever.
I'm pulling it back up to make sure I'm fine with this. Yeah, it's fine. I look angry and drunk and
Hey,
sad.
Chris,
Yeah.
Chris,
The
do
Ron
me a
Evans
favor.
look.
Post the bathtub photo instead.
Just Photoshop Lyle's face on it. All right. So, John Mark, where do you stand?
Yeah,
Or sit?
I'd probably have to go with the nips.
Give it to the nips. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I suppose I should have thought that one through a little bit longer, but I stand on my answer. Just give me the dickhead and the balls. I'll make something happen.
I don't want to lose anything really, but whatever.
Yeah, cheeky. Well, thank you all so much for the feedback. Keep it coming. The more you send it, the more frequently we'll do this. We don't get it all the time. So radarstationart@gmail.com. And you can send us voicemails too. We don't have a phone number, but you can record your audio and send it our way. We'll play it on the show. And I think that'll about do it. So let's get on to some much needed weird trivia, but I do need to refill my drink real quick and probably get rid
Yeah, I
of
gotta
one
pee.
too.
Yeah, I need.
All right, that time of the
Yeah.
podcast. Right back.
All right,
All
you
right.
guys want to fucking do some weird trivia or what?
Let's do it.
Y'all ready for this?
Oh yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
confession time.
Destination unknown as we pulling for some gas. That's for Todd.
Yeah. Sometimes these shows run long, and the longer they run, the more I drink and smoke. And then I start looking at this fucking trivia, and I'm like, God, this guy who wrote this was real typey type today. There's a lot of words on this fucking screen. All right. We're going to change the order up a little bit today because if memory serves me correctly, John Mark won last week, Lyle came in second, and Ronster came in third. So we're going to go in that order. John Mark, you're going to answer first. Lyle's going to answer second, and Ron, you're going to answer third.
Okay.
Y'all ready for this?
Mm-hmm.
I'm waking up. I like this. All right. All right, question one. American authorities recently intercepted and confiscated a shipment from China to the U.S. CNN reports that the freighter contained 13 tons of this, and they believe the shipment came from a forced labor internment camp that violates human rights.
Mm.
What was in the 13
A lot to that story.
I know. What was in the 13-ton shipment that the U.S. intercepted? What was it? Was it A, human hair?
Oh.
Was it B, fecal transplant material?
Fecal transplant.
Fecal transplant.
Explain that.
For someone
You don't know
who's
fecal
short of
transplant? You
fecal.
heard that?
You transplant somebody's poop.
Yeah, it's supposed to be great for cleaning out gut problems, I guess.
How about that?
Yeah, that was all. Was it C, whale blubber? That's a
No.
fucking surprisingly difficult 2 words to say. I don't know why.
Whale
Says
lover.
Whale
Yeah.
blubber.
Always valuable.
Or was it D, human cadavers meant to be used for art and or science?
Cadavers. Oh.
Again, the U.S. intercepted a freighter that had 13 tons of this in it, and they think it came from like an internment camp of prisoners in China. What was it? John Mark.
Man, it seems like it would take a lot of hair to make 13 tons.
Hmm.
Mhm.
But then again, 13 tons of dead people is a lot of fucking dead people.
Hmm.
What was the second one?
Fecal transplant material.
Fecal transplant. You know what? I'm going to go with that.
It's a lot of shit, John Mark.
I'm gonna go with that. It is a lot of shit, but guess what?
Chasing
People
the
shit
brown hair.
multiple times a day.
Jason the brown herring.
Okay.
Yeah, you can totally taste brown herring. Yeah.
Okay, Lyle, what you got for me, baby?
13 tons, and what do you get? And another and dead. I'm gonna go. I'm honestly thinking it's probably, and it seems so odd to me because why would you want to die and be part of art? It's like,
That's the controversy, Lyle.
You don't.
That's
probably
that's
not.
like the Bodies Museum exhibit, you know?
Yeah.
Exactly. It's like for science. Just take my body and make me muse.
Yeah, just because it was used as such don't mean you signed off on it.
I'm gonna go with 13 tons of bodies. Yeah.
Bodies. Okay.
Yeah,
Monster.
well, that was my first thought because of the bodies exhibit, especially coming from similar
Damn camps.
places. But
oh,
God, what was A?
Human hair.
Hair. A lot. Oh God, 13 tons though. Hair's light. Fuck it. I'm not known for winning. I'm gonna go with 13 tons of hair. Wait a minute, you're laughing. It's fair that I get to change my answer if you're laughing under your breath while I'm saying the answer.
Brown herring. Brown herring.
You don't know why I'm laughing.
Herring. I am gonna go with the hair. Fuck it. 13 tons of hair.
Sure.
Any of it is
Hey, man.
impractical.
Way to commit.
you
Way to commit. Even
Oh,
way to commit.
if I can commit to anything, it's losing.
All right. Question 2. A 38-year-old woman in Arkansas was recently arrested after an officer pulled her over and discovered she had 5 outstanding warrants for arrest. No big deal. But to make the story more interesting, the officer discovered this. Was it A? She had 2 drunk teenage boys hiding in her trunk that claimed to be her boyfriends. Is it B? She had a decorative bow in her hair that was actually just a rubber banded baggie filled with meth.
That's not a bad place to put it.
Was it C? She had 4 severed fingers from 4 different hands in her glove compartment. Or was it D? In what Ron will certainly dub the green herring, she had nearly 2 ounces of pot in her anus, which the officer only found because of a weed-scented fart that escaped her.
Okay, that's a green and a brown herring. The rarest. The rarest of all.
Shall we call that an olive drab herring?
You may as well call that answer R for Ron, because he's going to pick it. Poop and pot? Get out of the city, son.
Well, you are going last. Let's see how the other guys responded, and then you can make your choice.
What was this again? What was the original question?
Yeah, that last one chased out the first 3 answers.
Yeah, a 38-year-old woman in Arkansas was arrested after an officer pulled her over and discovered she had 5 outstanding warrants for arrest. But to make the story a bit more interesting, the officer also discovered this. Was it A, she had 2 drunk teenage boys riding in her trunk that claimed to be her boyfriends? B, she had a decorative bow in her hair that was actually just a rubber-banded baggie filled with meth. C, she had 4 severed fingers from 4 different hands in her glove compartment. Or D, she had nearly 2 ounces of pot in her anus, which the officer only found because of a weed-scented fart that escaped from her person. John Mark, I think I killed that.
Do you think the fart sounded like this?
Yes.
Well,
is that a skunk? What is?
So I'd have to know. So I'm curious about the olive drab herring, and I'm trying to think through this. And so even if she did have a pot scented fart, wouldn't that mean like they don't typically do? I mean, they would have had to arrest her first to find that, right? I mean, she had 5 outstanding warrants already. They were already going to arrest her, right?
Yeah.
So then, even if he was like, you know what, she farted and it smelled like weed. I think you guys, we get back to the station, we should do a cavity search. However, so she was going to get arrested anyway. So let's see here. You know, all of these seem viable, to be honest with you.
I love that of all of the questions you've ever asked, this is the one that John Mark is really working through.
I'm gonna go with the. I'm gonna go with the meth hair bow.
I think that's a pretty clever place to stash.
The white herring. Yeah.
The white herring. Yeah,
the white herring.
Or could it be blue? Who knows?
Yeah. I don't know.
I feel like that's a trap. I feel like that's kind of like a holiday thing. Like you'd use it like a mistletoe. You just like pick it out of your hair and then like wave it over somebody. So now you want to get high. You know what I don't speak meth. I don't understand, but it seems locked. Can you answer me where this was?
Arkansas,
not Rock Island. Okay.
That's the Florida of the Midwest.
I'm gonna go with the 2 dudes in the trunk.
All right, I've heard that you might do that from time to time. Huh?
No, I'm sure.
Yeah. You don't need nipples to play.
That's right. All right, Ronster, has anyone swayed you from my olive brown?
No, they probably should have, but nope. I'm sticking with the rare brown green herring. Yeah.
All right.
Question. It's an answer that deserves rewarding anyway. So.
Yeah, well, all right, fair enough. Question 3. Back in February, before the world ended, a group of protesters organized a little stunt in Las Vegas meant to make a sarcastic statement about the loyalty that Trump supporters will show him. What did they do? I've been holding on to this one for a bit, and I don't think many people saw it, and I thought it was fucking great. Was it A, they painted a tunnel onto a brick wall with a sign that read, "This way to the Trump rally"?
Road runner.
Was it B, they photoshopped Trump's face onto a series of Nazi propaganda posters that MAGA supporters snatched up anxiously?
Oh, yeah.
Was it B, they convinced a group of Trump supporters to get MAGA tattooed on their bodies in exchange for a meet and greet with Trump? They promised they'd be getting a meet and greet with Trump if they got MAGA tattooed on their bodies. Or was it D, they glued little red "Make America Great Again" hats onto the heads of a shitload of pigeons and let them fly freely into the city?
Fly
freely.
Fly freely.
I believe I can fly.
John? Mark.
I believe I can touch the sky.
I would go with the pigeons, except for I don't agree with gluing hats to pigeons' heads. That seems like animal abuse to me. So I would hope that if they were worth their salt as people who were anti-MAGA, that they would not be going down the road of animal abuse. So I'm going to go with the tattoos.
Good point.
Tattoos. I like your answer, sir. Okay, Lyle.
I want a tattoo. Just saying. I want to get a sleeve tattoo soon.
MAGA related?
Yeah.
No, it's boobs or something.
No, boobs.
Something way cooler than MAGA.
Lyle has provided the stinger for so many shows lately. No, boobs or something. Boobs or some shit.
Like 1,000 tips on one of them.
That's good. Well, it's funny because I was thinking the pigeons, but I was thinking back to that story where some people were putting like little cowboy hats on pigeons, which was hilarious to look at, but yeah, not terribly kind to the pigeons.
I answer. I was just.
Yeah. Sorry.
No, it's fine. It's what I was gonna go with is you know how like they did it for I can't remember. So I don't think it was Obama. There's one of the presidential things with the hope, the black and the red. kind of art.
Yeah,
that kind
the
of
Shepherd
viral
fairy
stuff.
print. Yeah.
I could see something like that, but like a communist thing with fucking Trump. So I'm gonna go with that.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
See propaganda. Ronster.
Yeah, I'm leaning toward the tattoo as well.
Okay. Excuse me. Question 4.
Although that's not really that much of a prank. They'd probably be happy to have the
Yeah,
MAGA.
probably.
Although it depends on what they do with that. I'm
Until it
sticking with it.
becomes the swastika of 2030.
Yeah, I'm leaning towards the posters now myself, but whatever. I'm going to stay with my answer.
You know what's weird is that I'm starting to get the creeps when I see like trucks go driving by with the U.S. flag waving, just because it's like
weird?
8 feet
Oh, with
tall.
good reason, dude.
And I'm like,
You have very good
why
reason
is
to
that
feel
starting to
creeped out by that.
bother me? That people are ruining
They
that.
should.
Yeah.
Somebody posted this meme or this thought-provoking like Twitter quote, and it was like, "Have you ever noticed how most people that wear clothing that is the American flag are probably racists?" Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm trying to think. Or
Like a same
either a sweater for older women
Shorts.
or a
Tank
tank top for younger men. And usually
All right.
screaming somewhere about having to wear a mask.
Karen.
Question 4. God, you make me laugh. Okay. Earlier this year in Australia, a man broke into a high-profile museum and spent a little over 40 minutes doing this. It was all captured on camera. Was it A, walking around the museum taking various selfies with dinosaurs?
Brilliant. I've done
That-
dino selfies.
That's the wholesome answer. Is it B,
Mm-hmm.
thoroughly licked every tooth of a T-Rex skull?
God damn, wouldn't you?
Every two.
Try to get a
I'll
little
look
safe.
anything in this day and age.
You wanted to lick the goddamn bodies exhibit.
Yeah,
I
they
saw
just
you
look like ham.
salivating.
They all look
Ham.
like ham.
Saying ham over and over again.
Like,
It's really
You
unsettling.
know they're salty, glistening.
Nasty.
It was
Was it
nasty.
C? He drew a pentagram on the floor with ketchup and tried to summon a dinosaur demon.
Well, yeah. Come on.
Oh, ancient dinosaur, catch up to the future. Visit us. Mhm.
We need you now more than ever.
Yeah, we need an invasion of T-Rex now more than ever, with a
Please,
specific
save us
hunger.
from us. Yeah.
Just eat all of us. Fuck it.
We know you have tiny hands, but I'll help you hold the door.
We will let us be your helping hands. Okay.
Or was it D? He simply got naked and tried repeatedly to climb a 20-foot tall model brontosaurus.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
What
We
was
can't
it?
Have nice things. This is why we can't get close to Stonehenge anymore. They
Yeah.
roped it.
Is that true?
Fenced it off.
Yeah.
I think you can if you spend a bunch of money to go to because I still see people going up to it. I don't think you're still allowed to touch it though. But for the average tourist, yeah, you'll notice all the photos are like from a long ways away where you just be able to pull up to it, like wander up, touch it. People start chipping out pieces and drawing wieners on it and putting Joni Loves Chachi. So we can't have nice things. We can't
It's a
have
deep
nice
pull.
ancient
It's
things.
a deep pull.
If any of our listeners have an urge to do such, we have a Stonehenge replica in Washington State. You can come and do that too.
Yeah, you can draw your wieners on that one.
Yeah.
Please.
That's down by the Bonneville Dam.
John Mark.
Woody Guthrie.
By the temples.
John Mark, what say you?
So he broke into a museum and spent 40 minutes in there doing this.
Mm-hmm. Was it A, taking selfies with the dinos, thoroughly licking every tooth of a T-Rex skull, drawing a pentagram on the floor with ketchup and trying to summon a dinosaur demon, or getting naked and tried to repeatedly climb a 20-foot tall model brontosaurus?
I'm going with the last one there, trying to climb that Bronto.
Okay. Tough, steep climb, I'm sure. Lyle.
I want to know what kind of drugs he was on because I want some. Jesus, you know what I mean?
He was high on
I'm-
I know.
I'm torn between the summoning the demon fucking dinosaur with ketchup, or
very random.
the other one.
There was another one.
The other one that wasn't stupid.
No,
It's what he's saying with his voice. I hear.
oh,
Yeah.
licking the T-Rex head.
Yeah.
The tooth.
What are you gonna go with?
The tooth, yeah.
Oh man.
Tooth.
Well, I'm just.
Tooth.
Do you have to be on like
Tooth.
heavy LSD or something to be like?
I think you
so
just gotta fucking love nature, man. Gotta love dinosaurs. Gotta be high on life. All life.
Got a Jurassic Park poster up in your bedroom.
Ancient life. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm gonna go summoning the demon.
Bold choice, sir.
You guys have seen Dune, right?
Mm-hmm.
Tooth.
I've never seen
The
it.
spies. Oh, really?
Yeah, I've never seen
It'd be
it.
a weird
I
one
heard it's great.
to watch now.
Yeah, I heard it's dated, but they're making a new series or something for HBO or Showtime or something.
Yeah, it's we talked about this not that long ago.
Actually, the guy who did the latest, the new Blade Runner, is doing the Dune movies.
Right.
He's doing 2 of them.
Again, stoner.
That's one of those that is, it's a classic movie in its own right, but I think most of us can get behind the idea of a remake with better effects. I mean, that
Dude,
it was such an
I fucking love that movie. It's so fucking weird and it's kind of bad, but it's also fucking just very compelling and like
Yeah.
memorable.
It is kind of bad,
Dune.
though. I love it too, but it is kind of bad. It's
Well,
amazing, but kind of bad.
David Lynch's Dune.
I mean, some of those
Is it
effects.
David Lynch?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
David Lynch did it. Yeah.
Oh man, I don't know.
You got to watch it, man. It's on HBO right now.
You need to watch it. You need to see it going into a new, Dune movie for sure.
Dude, just do your thing. Get all prepared. You know what I'm saying?
My thing.
That's like not
And-
having seen
and
Raiders
just
of the
watch
Lost
it.
Ark
You
or
will-
some shit. You need
You
to
will
see
totally enjoy it. I mean,
Okay.
don't know if you will like love it, but you will have a good time. I'm telling
it.
you.
And what I mean by that is that's like a rite of passage. Like they're just movies that we all watched because it was that time and we saw everything. Not that it's as good of a movie as Raiders of the Lost Ark, but to me, someone of our age, although you are younger, you still should see it. But yeah, brace
All right.
yourself because it's
Okay.
just expect some weirdness.
The spice.
Yeah, the spice.
The unexpected.
Oh, Dune. I thought you
The
said
tooth.
Yeah.
I thought you said Dune.
The two-
The spice is life.
You'll know it when you get there. The tooth.
Sting.
All right, where are we at here?
Great
Who
performance
hasn't
by
answered
Sting.
yet? I think I
Um,
got John Mark right. John Mark. I think it was Lyle went with demon summoning. I haven't got Ronster.
yeah, I went. I think it. Oh, I didn't go with the ketchup. Yeah, I'm going with the ketchup. That's just such a random thing to make a pentagram
Okay.
with, and it's a random thing to do
Literally a red herring.
to reflesh the skeleton. Find your bones. Although, don't they? Isn't there? I think it's true that there is no such thing as like a complete dinosaur. Like they're all assembled from various fossils. Is that true? Maybe I'm wrong. Anyway,
I don't fucking know.
Okay, question one. American authorities recently intercepted a huge shipment coming from China to the U.S. CNN reported that the freighter contained 13 tons of human hair that they
Oh my
believe
God.
shipped from a forced labor internment camp. Violates human rights, so they're trying to figure out where it came from and get that worked out. Ronster got that right. Off to a good start, buddy.
yeah, that's a
Lot
lot
of
of hair,
hair.
man. A lot of
Lot
fucking
of hair. Question two, and I have a this one comes with a photo answer for you guys.
That was me. I was gonna say something, but I was gonna go. Is it really a? I forgot what I was gonna say now. See.
Was it going to be a hairy hair? A hairy
It was a
heron?
joke, but like I
Hair herring.
Boobs.
Hair herring.
just
Oh,
get a bunch
boobs or some shit.
Question two. A 38-year-old woman was arrested last year after an officer pulled her over. Discovered she had 5 outstanding warrants for arrest. To make matters more interesting, the officer discovered this, and I'm just going to send you guys the photo.
That was
Oh,
correct.
it was a tidy little meth bow. See, look at
Yeah.
that. You'd never fucking know. Well, maybe if you got like right next to you, you'd be like,
Pretty fucking
that's
obvious.
a fucking baggie. Filled with white substance. But from a distance, she looks exactly like the person you would imagine. Exactly like the woman who would have a bow of meth in her hair. Yeah.
Okay, so John Mark got that correct, so you are tied at 1 apiece. Okay, question 3. Back in February, a group of protesters organized a little stunt in Las Vegas meant to make a sarcastic statement about the loyalty that Trump supporters will seem to show him. And what they did, I'll just send you the photo.
Oh, wow, they did it.
Oh, wow. Should have warmed my heart.
Those crazy bastards, they did it.
They glued
Red
little
hats
red
on me?
Make America Great Again hats onto the heads of a shitload of pigeons and let them go freely into the city. I guess they were all over the fucking place.
They don't seem to be
did get
bothered
a lot
by
of
them,
flack.
but yeah,
It
they
did
should.
get a lot of flack from some animal rights groups, and the group came back and said, we anticipated this. We want you to know we used eyelash glue, so they should fall off pretty quick and not damage either bird nor hat. But the group came back and was like, that's bullshit. That's still fucking affecting the way they see and fly. We shouldn't have done this. So
And you still had to capture a wild bird and force it to sit there while you glued shit on it. That alone is probably avoidable.
it was fucking incredible.
But
Nobody got
you have
correct,
to admit,
obviously.
that's a hell of a photo.
It really is, isn't it?
Because the one in the middle has a Trump wig. He's the queen. Good stuff. Except not. Although look at the shadow. Look at the wig shadow. I don't know why, but that's funnier.
It's great. All right. Lastly, question 4. Earlier this year, an Australian man broke into a high-profile museum and spent a little over 40 minutes taking selfies with dinosaurs.
Damn it.
Gotcha, motherfuckers.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Totally wholesome. It was wholesome.
It was really kind of cute, dude.
Yeah,
the
you threw us with
CCTV.
wholesomeness, Chris. The wholesome herring. The
Which
even
means-
rarer than the brown and green herring.
We are going to end on a tie here, but fortunately,
1-1.
I have a motherfucking tiebreaker. It's not a great one, but it's a numbers-based one, which I enjoy.
Zip, how long?
Okay, Ronster, John Mark, please open up a text to just me.
Okay.
As close as to, so not Price is Right here. The odds of getting a royal flush in poker are exactly 1 in what?
A
Jesus
royal
Christ.
flush in poker.
Did you write this at work?
No, I
Well-
saved some random trivia shit for cases just
Well-
like this.
It says monkey.
Royal flush. 1 in.
Oh, that's okay. Sure, that's fine.
Does that work?
Ron says 1 in 200.
No.
John Mark says 1 in 10,000.
Oh, dear.
The actual odds.
Never feel good when it's that much of a discrepancy.
Oh, it's like 100,000, isn't it?
The actual odds of getting a royal flush in poker are 1 in 649,740.
It's here.
Oh.
Very-
Oh, so a few north
So
of
I-
200.
I guess I win.
Just a little shy of 200.
Congratulations.
John Mark over.
John Mark wins by being 550,000 off. Holy shit. That seems crazy. I've seen a ton of royal flushes. I played a lot of poker, though. I mean, I haven't had a lot of royal flushes, but I've seen a bunch of them.
Well,
Ah,
now you
boy,
know
maybe
just
I
how
haven't.
magical they
Actually,
are.
maybe I haven't. Maybe I'm thinking of just, I'm thinking of full houses. I've seen a lot of full houses. Now that's 1 in 200. You got to know that. Wow.
I
Holy
don't
shit.
know. I don't even play poker, so I have fucking no
Oh, I
idea.
love poker. I miss playing
Oh,
poker.
poker's fun.
I don't know the odds. Well, clearly, but so I never played it like that. But I know what beats what. I usually
Well,
did.
Most of the time, if you sit at a poker table, there's a cheat legend that tells you all those odds because you can bet on those odds.
Well, good shit. Congratulations, John Mark, on your
Thank you.
only being off by several
500
100,000
some
on
thousand.
that.
Yep.
That's crazy. That's some crazy shit. Interesting, though. Math. Learned a little something. Well, let's get on out of here. RadarStationArt@gmail.com. If you all are in a place to do it, head out and try to find that comet. Last few nights to see it. Got to see it a couple nights ago in pretty fucking magical, I gotta say.
That was a good picture.
What time is it supposed to be visible? Do you know?
Well, if you got binoculars,
dark, right?
you gotta go find it. It depends on where you're at, because it's most visible as it gets closer to, the horizon. But a lot of people have trees or buildings or hills blocking it, so you're more likely to be able to see it around like 10:30 or so, I think. But you probably won't.
He saw it pretty well at like 4 a.m. here the other night, a couple nights ago.
Yeah, I think the best time to see it is crazy early in the morning. But I mean, most of us aren't going to do that. So, but you can see it. I mean, you saw what we saw, and that picture really didn't. It was a cool picture, but it's just something about staring. It's very faint. That's the thing. Is like you're not going to go out there even in good conditions and see this thing streaking across the sky. I mean, maybe if you're in Lincoln, Montana, but just a little bit of light pollution we had around here was enough to keep it really faint. And you couldn't see it when you're looking quite at it. It's one of those things we got to look a little bit off. But I've got my space binocs, and putting it on, it was a pretty magical thing. And I was like, I wonder how long that tail is. And I looked it up. In fact, that's a good little trivia question. We'll go around the horn here. Guess how long the visible trail of this fucking comet is, John Mark?
You told us.
Oh, did I?
Yeah.
Oh, damn it. Oh, well.
But I'm struggling. Isn't it like 10,000 miles or something ridiculous?
That's what I remember. 10,000.
John Mark?
100,000 miles.
Oh, I could have gone around the horn. 10 million miles.
Holy fuck.
Yeah.
And I would walk 10 million.
That's exactly what Sarah said. We're out there watching it. And I would walk 10 million miles just to see a comet. Yeah, it won't be around for another 6,000 years. So get out there and try to take a peek. It's worth it. And you can do it I think 11 o'clock was like the best viewing for us. And I spotted it on my roof, but I could see it down on the ground. So even with trees and, being right next to an orchard and hills, I was able to see it up in the sky. So you'll probably be able to see it. Where it was for us, I don't know how much it's moving. I didn't see it last night. I didn't go look for it. This was a couple nights ago. But we found it I found the North Star. So if you know how to find the North Star, just start there and then look to the west of it. And which is going to be.
Do you know how many more days it's supposed to be visible?
I think it's past its peak in terms of brightness, so I would guess like 4 or 5 more days to be fairly easily spotted. But you're going to need your glasses, and you're going to want binoculars even when you do find it, just to get up there and really see the glowing ball of fire and that huge fucking tail. But the tail is, what you'll see. You won't really see. We didn't. I feel like the tail was brighter or easier to spot than the ball of flame. But super cool. Worth doing. Anywho, space. I'm working on some new space stories, which is long overdue. And
it's 1999.
Until next week, be good to yourself and wear a goddamn mask. And if you want to participate in the next round of emails or voicemails, I'd love to hear some of your recordings. RadarStationArt@gmail.com. If you want to support the show, we will still, of course, accept money at patreon.com/Tales from the Space Pod. You can do a $1 or fucker or more a month, or you can do a one-time donation, if you will, for all these countless hours, hundreds. It's got to be thousands of hours at this point, right? What the average episode, let's do a little math here. The average episode, I would say, we got longer over the years, but within that first year, we had pretty much averaged out at, I think, about 90 minutes per episode. So let's say that the average is 90, because we're long, then we got longer. Let's keep it at 90 times 380. That is, wait, is that right? That's how many minutes. Let's see,
it's making me want to hang up real bad.
Okay, 1 point.
My poor waste.
It's making me want to hang up real fast. Yeah, you and all of our listeners. Okay, so what? Help me out with the math here.
This is compelling stuff.
Like 1.5
So if it was
times.
If it was an hour each, it would be what, 380 hours. If it was 2 hours each, it would be what, 700.
It's 570.
760.
90 minutes a piece, 570 hours.
You got to go back and look in your Steam
That doesn't seem
library
right.
and find out like what you did in Skyrim. It's like 500 hours in Skyrim or something.
So still not thousands of hours, but hundreds upon hundreds of hours that we
Literally
have spent.
hundreds of hours.
Definitely thousands of hours of work when you consider research and editing and all of the social marketing, networking, and all that stuff. So if you want to contribute to all of that work, which you have to spend no money at all to enjoy, paypal.me/thecometmag is your easy way, and that'll accept pretty much all forms of payment except
We also
cash, which
have-
apparently is going away.
We also have merch available at TeePublic. You just go to TeePublic and search for How Bizarre Podcast. You will find several designs you can buy on like basically anything you can think of, really, from a onesie to
Including
a mask
masks.
to pillows and
Listener
knows?
Jennifer sent, or Jen sent a photo of her wearing one of the How Bizarre masks. It looks great. I could get one of those myself. All right, y'all.
You too can enjoy the fruits of our loins.
Made from our used undies. Yeah, good stuff. All right.
Small.
Tune in next week, 9/11. Good night, y'all. Go look at that comet.
I want to get a sleep tattoo soon. Yes,
Maggot
guys.
related.
Yeah.
No, it's boobs or something.